Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. Welcome to this Spurs chat where I've got three fantastic guests yet again. I've got Jason McGovern from The Last Word on Spurs. I've got Richard Whitehead, the double Paralympic 200-metre gold medalist. And I've got Wolves fan Dazzling Dave from Dazzling Dave TV. Of course, we are playing Wolves on Sunday afternoon at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We need the 3 points. We need them far more than Wolves. But we will discuss everything what has been happening this past week, the club apology, the manager search, potential transfers, and of course previewing this huge game in the Premier League against Wolves on Sunday. Jason, let's come to you first. Welcome to the channel once again. Of course, last weekend Tottenham lost 3-1 away at Leeds at Ellen Road. Thoughts on that game?
Well, apparently it was a big game. The players talked it up all week that as being a big game, and as usual for a big game, they failed to show up and do what they were supposed to do. So, you know, I'm quite hoping this weekend's game is a nothing game to them and it gives us a chance to play. But if they talk about Wolves being a big game, I'm worried again. But no, it was, you know, last Saturday was really frustrating because Leicester had lost on the Friday. We all thought Chelsea would probably lose at Manchester City. We had the early kickoff with a glimmer of hope, and you think, go on then, back up what you've been talking about. And they put in a limp display for the first hour, really. Lose 3-1. It could have been more. Hugo Lloris is our man of the match in a so-called big game, and yet again they let us down. And so they're hollow words all the time now, and I think we just can't wait for the season to end, sadly.
Were you surprised by the performance, Jace, particularly that it was under Ryan Mason? Because it felt like another Jose Mourinho game from back in the day, earlier this season.
Not in the least bit surprised, Chris. This season, it's a broken, fractured group, and I don't think changing the manager this late in the season is going to make any difference to them. I think the mindset is wrong, and you don't change the mindset overnight. It's, you know, we've talked about it, haven't we? It's a complete reset the club needs, and we've been, let's be fair, we've been drifting for really a year, haven't we? All season has been a drift. Let's be honest. I know we had that good start, but we've drifted along for so long now, and I think that's we can't put 3 or 4 back-to-back wins together, which is what you need to do. So until we can do that, you know, like I say, a lot of the talk is just cheap talk.
Richard, let's come to you. I love the shirt you're wearing. You know, when I see that shirt, I just think of Lucas Moura's hat-trick.
Mate, guess what I've got on the back?
Fantastic.
I've got more on the back. Yeah. The reason why I wore it is because I know every time we chat, we try to be really positive, and then obviously the team lets us down slightly. I think when I've watched the last couple of games, I've wanted us to play a certain way, and I've had hope, and we've got no hope. Like literally, the team itself, I think, is, like Jason said, it is a little bit fractured with how the direction that some of the players are wanting to go. And Ryan Mason, great guy, he's got lots of energy, but I think you look at the team itself, it's just really average. And remember last time when I was on as well, Chris, that I did say that we'd probably finish 6th or 7th.
You did,
and I think when you look at the results, we can't string results together, but we can't string like the play together in the games. We can't have 30, 40 minutes of good, outstanding play like we did earlier in the season. It's just we can't even keep the ball properly. It's the real basics that we're really struggling to at the moment, and I just find it really frustrating watching it. And I speak to lots of my mates that are Spurs fans, and they're exactly the same. It's very frustrating. And also, Chris, I did say Bale at the moment, especially with Serge on that wing, away from home, it's like literally like you're giving the ball to the opposition and saying, just run at us. We have got no defence on that side at all. Bale's not going to run back, and Serge is just like all over the shop, can't defend at all. Definitely don't want him diving in the box because he's going to give away penalties left, right and centre. Yeah, as a Spurs fan at the moment, we want the season to finish because we've just been let down time and time again, and you just don't know what kind of Spurs is going to turn up. I watched the game last night, and I think when you're looking at Liverpool, Man United, you kind of, they turned it on. Spurs, when do we turn it on in the games? Hardly ever at the moment, like hardly ever.
Do you know what, Richard? In recent, well, in the last week or so, watching Manchester City and watching Chelsea, and it pains me to say this about Chelsea, when you look at them going forward, we just look miles behind these clubs right now. And I know the last time you were on, you said that we'd finish 6th or 7th. You know, if we finish 6th at the moment, we'd go into the Europa League. If we finish 7th, we'd go into this new competition, the Europa Conference League. Would you rather finish outside of that and finish 8th and have no European football at all? But, you know, surely Tottenham need European football in this stadium and of course, a new manager coming in.
Yeah, they definitely need European football, but obviously not that Mickey Mouse tournament that we have to start in like in August to obviously go through the preliminary rounds. I think, but that's where we're at the moment. We're beneath teams like West Ham. And you just look at the season that they've had under Moyes, and you just go, I look at their team and I go, how are they winning games that we aren't winning with the players they've got? But what it is faction. When you've got teams that aren't playing together as a unit, you get caught out, and especially when you've not got the fans in the stadium supporting the team, driving the team on. You get really found out. And we, this season, so much... Like, how many games have we seen this year where Spurs haven't been on the front foot and lost and just got hammered? And that's... The game against Leeds, what do Leeds do a lot of? Run with and without the ball. And then you put players on the pitch. Like, I know Moore has not had an amazing season, but you look at a player that is going to give you 100%, is going to at least try to move with the ball through the midfield, through the channels as well. But I just think we're lacking. Dele tried his hardest, but he needs game time. And we need to really look at the squad for next year, because we need a lot of players moving on to fresh pastures. And we need to upscale some of the players as well, because... very weak at the back. Like, defensively, I've not seen as this weak at the back for a long time. Yeah,
absolutely right. Dazzling Dave, welcome to the channel. You know, the last time I met you, you know, it was outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Of course, you know, we're in the grounds. You know, hopefully we're not going to wait that long. But what have you made of Tottenham's season so far? It's been so up and down for us. You know, back at the start of the season, Tottenham fans were in a very positive mood, thinking that Jose Mourinho might even deliver Tottenham a trophy at the end of this season. But it's been so up and down. Every week it seems to be up, down, up, down, up, down. What have you made of Tottenham's season so far?
Well, first off, Chris, yeah, I remember that game because we met. It was just before. It was, funnily enough, it was the last away day that I went to before the lockdown. And Raul Jimenez scored that late win at 3-2, and we were all at that point thinking Champions League. The lockdown came, you got your players back, it worked for you, swings, and obviously you ended up getting the Europe. In hindsight, I'm glad we never got into Europe last year, to be honest, because if you go to Europe, you want to be able to go. In terms of Tottenham, in terms of this year, I mean, I watched the All or Nothing documentary last year, which was a fantastic documentary. I really enjoyed watching it. And obviously with Mourinho, big name, I know there was a bit of a split between the Tottenham fans when he came in. You were thinking that this year that Tottenham would kick on. And to be fair, you did at the start of the season. At one point, you were top of the division. And you were thinking, is this the year for Tottenham? And then it all sort of... That was about the peak of the season for you guys. And then from there on, it's kind of just been one calamity in some ways after another in between the board and Mourinho. I don't know exactly what's gone there, the formations. But, you know, you also have to put into context, as a lot of Wolves fans do, is it's a bit of a weird season. We're a bit like you. We just want the season to go on. All them years ago with... Bobby from Dallas waking up in the shower and it never really happened. It's kind of feels a bit like that, really, to be honest. So it's a bit of a topsy-turvy. And you come on to West Ham as well. And I had a West Ham fan on when I was talking about the Super League on my... you couldn't make that night, Chris, because you had a lot going on as well yourself. Not surprised. I'm sure we'll touch on that. And every West Ham fan I've spoken to have said they're having a good season because they ain't got any fans in the stadium. Some fans have not been there for some teams. It's had a negative effect. I just think it's had a positive effect for West Ham because they've had such a toxic atmosphere. It's took that away and they've been able to play with a bit more freedom. And I think they've had a great season, but I think having no fans there has probably helped them.
Dave, were you surprised, not being a Spurs fan, it's great to hear from other fans, for their point of view. As a Wolves fan, were you surprised that Tottenham sacked Jose Mourinho when they did?
Yes, I think so. I would have thought that it was going to happen. It would happen towards the end of the season. Wolves did something very similar when we lost 5-1 to the West Birmingham Baggy Birds. When Mick McCarthy was in charge, we lost 5-1. They sacked him. They brought in his assistant. I think we won. We ended up down in League One. Now that's not going to happen to you. And I think obviously Mason's, he's a good lad. He's doing his best, but it's kind of a bit of a stopgap. You'd have thought you'd have kept him. I was really shocked that they sacked him before the cup final. I think reading between the lines as a Wolves fan, I think that was because he spoke out to the board about the Super League, and I think that's why he went at that point, because he wasn't happy with what had happened with the Super League thing. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but reading between the lines, that's the gist of it that I took from that. Why would you sack him before a cup final? It made no sense.
We still want to beat Man City, though. We still want to beat Man City with the tosh that we've got.
Well, you don't know, do you? I mean,
no, we wouldn't, mate. No, we wouldn't.
Fair enough.
I've watched every game this season, and we have been terrible. We've had 2 or 3 games. Actually, I think I spoke to one of my mates. I think I counted 6 games that I actually watched and enjoyed, and the rest have been shite. And I think when you look at, I went to Madrid when we were in the Champions League final. And then since then, what upgrades have we had in the team? None. Like we haven't had.
You got Matt Doherty.
Yeah, upgrade. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah,
Can we have our money back? Can we? Yeah, because
to be fair, we feel like we've loaned him to you for a season because wouldn't be surprised that Spurs are looking to sell him, and I think Wolves fans would probably, some of us would probably think he could do a job back at us because we have missed that wing back position this year. He knew so well, and with Tottenham, I think he's played a different formation. It hasn't quite worked out for him, has it?
No.
Would you like him back?
To be honest, Doherty is still a good age, 28, 29. He's got an engine on him. When he played our formation, he had good position. We've struggled this year. We lost Johnny Otto on our left-hand side with an ACL, came back and then got another ACL. We lost Matt Doherty on the other side, and it was all about our wing backs. We lost both of the wing backs, and we haven't quite defensively. His positional play for us was always very, very good. He'd always come in late in the box going forward, and he would always know when to come and go. But obviously, Mourinho's played him in a bit of a different way, and it's not quite worked out for him at Tottenham. So. I wouldn't be adverse if we got him back for half the money of having him in a good age. So
I think Richard will give you free of charge.
Yeah, I'll pay the Uber if you want.
Well, we only paid £80,000 for him in the first place. We sold it to you for 12 million.
I know, that's it.
Jace, let's come to you. Dave mentioned the Super League there. Go on.
The strange thing is that we thought we got a bargain at 12 million.
At the time,
let's be honest. People can talk about recruitments, and I know there's lots of criticisms of that. But find me a Spurs fan that didn't think that was a good signing. We genuinely thought. I tell you what, that is what we needed. That's a genuine upgrade on Aurier. He's a player that was name checked in the documentary that Mourinho obviously liked. We all thought, Christ, that's an excellent deal. 12 million. No, I don't remember anybody saying, why the hell are we doing this deal? So, I mean, it highlights, doesn't it? People talk about poor recruitment at football clubs when you have the benefit of hindsight, but nobody was arguing that wasn't a good deal.
I'm just not sure. Yeah, I'm just not sure if a player like him then takes you forwards to the next level. Like I say, from the Champions League, if you're looking to them winning those big tournaments to be getting into the top 3, top 4 consistently of the league, is somebody like him going to be able to do that? I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure he's got the pedigree to do that.
The only thing I'd ever say to that, Richard, is that like I say, we all thought it was an upgrade on Aurier. And the last time I heard a fullback described as won't take us to the next level was when we were linked with Andy Robertson when he got relegated with Hull. And I look at Andy Robertson now and think, I tell you what, I wish he was our left back. And Harry Maguire was another one that wouldn't take us to the next level when he was relegated with Hull. And, you know, sometimes you have to see the possibilities in players before you do it. And, you know, Dele Alli was one that I know not everyone's a Dele Alli, but people were saying, why are we buying Dele Alli? And look how that turned out. So, you know, you can get them from those clubs as long as they come in and fit the system. And like I said, we all thought that was an upgrade on Serge Aurier. And yet now, if we're picking a team, no matter how bad Serge Aurier is, we probably still pick him all as our right back.
Yeah. Jace, let's come on to the subject that Dave brought up here, about the Super League. And of course, the club made an apology this week. You know, it was a few weeks late. You know, a lot of us were very disappointed by this decision that Tottenham wanted to join the Super League. Of course, it didn't go ahead. The club put an apology out this week. We wholeheartedly regret that we involved the club. We apologise unreservedly. The supporters trust are really not happy. They are still calling for a change. There are protests at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tomorrow, Saturday and on Sunday. The Spurs web here. Are you supporting the protest tomorrow? What are your thoughts on this whole Super League debacle?
Well, it was a debacle, and the clubs knew it was by letting a statement out at, what was it, 11 p.m. on a Sunday night when the officials. Nobody makes a. If you're launching that to the fanfare that you were expecting, you don't do that at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. So that was the first sign that things were going wrong. Unlike Dave, I don't think Mourinho left because of that. I think Tottenham thought it doesn't matter now if we finish in the top 4 because we'll be in the Super League next year. And therefore, we get rid of Mourinho and it has no impact. We haven't got to worry about top 4 for the rest of the season because we're in the top 4 effectively in the Super League. So it's not a problem to us. And I think maybe they just thought, we don't think Mourinho will win us the cup, but we're not going to pay him the bonus for winning it anyway. And we'll dump him now because we'll save ourselves a few quid. But what's happened since the apology, when you first read it very quickly, I thought, right, finally they've listened. It's taken them weeks and weeks and weeks to make the apology. But then actually when you looked at the detail of it, you thought they've said sorry, but then they spent the next 4 or 5 paragraphs trying to justify it. And there is no justification for it. So the apology, the more you looked at it, got hollow. The protest, I can't go to the protest tomorrow. I've never been one that's a big fan of protests being organised. I've always said that the key thing is bring me a buyer to the football club. And no matter how much you protest, you're not going to change it without the buyer. But, you know, I understand why people will be going to that protest. And if I had the opportunity to go tomorrow, I think I probably would go tomorrow or Sunday to do it. And I've never felt like that about my football club. I've certainly, I don't ever remember feeling as dissatisfied in Tottenham Hotspur Football Club as I do now. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe the fact that there's no crowds being in football. My approach to football really has been different for a year. You know, games that I would have watched on Sky, Liverpool, Man United last night, didn't even watch it. Wasn't in the least bit interested in it. So perhaps it's not just I'm disenchanted with Tottenham. I'm actually disenchanted with football as it is at the moment. And when you put the two together, it's harder. But as I say, I understand why fans will protest. I wish them all the best. Hopefully it's a peaceful protest. And I think the club have really got to they're not going to resign the board or anything like that. But I sincerely hope they do listen and understand how disenchanted our supporters are. And that is when you have that disconnect, football becomes difficult. And when those fans go in that stadium, instead of 10,000 going in that stadium feeling happy to be back there, probably 9,000 will be disenchanted with the football club. And you may well get a totally different atmosphere than the party atmosphere they were expecting from 10,000 to be back in there. And they have got some serious listening to do to get this football club back on track.
It's funny though, Jake, isn't it? The fact that the club apology said that, you know, there are board members there that have given nearly 2 decades, you know, to the football club and they're not going anywhere. But the supporters trust, they want the board out. It's very unlikely to happen though, isn't it?
Well, you know, which board members are going to replace them. So I can partly understand why the board won't. They're just not all going to resign their positions like that. And Daniel Levy's got, what, 30% share in the club anyway, hasn't he? So he's certainly not going to go anywhere. As I say, I think we need different leadership throughout the entire club. We need a different ownership. But finding that owner is you know, lots of supporters at lots of clubs will talk about wanting new owners for their football club. But that's a lot easier to say than actually go and do. And I think until we get that new ownership, and let's be honest, you could, the new owner, I've always said that, the new owner when he comes will be looking to make money from the deal. He's not going to be like Jack Walker at Blackburn all those years ago. He's not going to be you or me that thinks I'm dedicated to Tottenham. Here's $4 billion. We're going to spend it. I don't care about, I don't mind if we're cheap season tickets. I don't mind if I take the red off the shirt. I don't mind doing this. It's not going to be that way, is it? It's just not. So it will be another money-making machine that comes in, be it American, be it Chinese, be it Arabic, and we won't get that real fans feeling that we want for the club.
Richard, let's come to you. Of course, the club apology come out this week. All of us Tottenham fans have been waiting for it in these past few weeks. Other clubs have put out statements of apology. We were still waiting. What are your thoughts on the club apology?
Oh, jeez. I think, do you know, sometimes, especially when you're talking about management and leadership, you want to see that connection with the fans, don't you? But you also want the fans to be part of any decision making, to be involved, to kind of feel that the club's moving forward, like Jason said. And this year's been such a strange year, and then to have that just like thrown on you, that your club is then going to be part of this Super League breakaway that's nothing to do with the fans or connecting the fans or the passion that we have for the club. I think it's, a dagger in a lot of hearts of Spurs fans, and a lot of people are disconnected with not just football but also the club itself, and that's something that's really hard to get back. And just by releasing a statement, but then a delayed statement just to try and get the terminology right is ridiculous. They need to show some real. They need to show now what the club's going to do in the future and how they're going to reconnect with not just the fans but also the community around the stadium, and kind of galvanise people to get them to have bums on seats, and then also to be that positive voice that's in the stadium that actually G's on the team for hopefully future success. I think within professional sport, you always have that disconnect with the money men, the people that are born and bred within that team, people that have come through the ranks of those teams, and also the players. And as soon as the scales are tipped in one of those directions, then you've got real trouble. And that's what's happened with the Super League. The players didn't know anything about it, obviously, and the management didn't. And they're the people that have got those platforms to talk about the game to the masses, to the fans, to us. And then obviously the board members deciding let's jump in with all these other jokers. You just go, it's ridiculous. Like, how is that ever going to get any traction? And this has been years in coming. And then just to make the announcement in a pandemic when the club's already losing money, it just seems like it's just take. They should be giving back to the community, giving back to the club. It's really frustrating.
Richard, most fans at the moment.
I was going to say, Chris, can I just add as well that in all the contrition that the 6 clubs have all come out and apologised and that, I don't believe there is contrition there. I still believe that those 6 clubs will be trying to put it into the pot and work out how in 3 years' time do we make the announcement there's a European Super League and get the fans on board. They haven't scrubbed the idea. it will be worked on, and they'll think, okay, we must find a way of teams being able to come into it and teams not, and we must be able to have our teams back in the Premier League and playing in it. But the idea has not gone away just because those 6 clubs have apologised, and they will still try and force it through.
Rich, let's come back to you. Roy Price writes here, I've been a fan for 50 years and witnessed poor seasons in that time. I feel that this is the most disappointing season ever. Am I the only one thinking this? Now, I was going to say, the shirt that you're wearing, 2 years ago, Spurs fans felt so connected to the club. In this 2 years, you ask a lot of Spurs fans now, they're stating that they've never felt so disconnected to the club. This 2 years has been, very poor, hasn't it?
Yeah, and like I said last time I was on the show, Chris, that's the reason why I didn't really connect with Jose. He's great talking the talk, never really walked it for me. And yes, you can talk about all his success in other teams, but that's not the Tottenham way. You need to have a connection with the club. You need to. Pochettino, over the years, had developed the relationship with the club, the passion, and that the Ajax game, that was one of the best games I've ever seen as a Spurs fan. Not just because of what happened on the pitch, but what happened after, and how my agent is actually a Liverpool fan, and he was actually in the stadium for that game, and he said he'd never been to a game like that before, just because the small cohort of Spurs fans and the Tottenham players really had that connection, and Mora, his celebration at the end was something like, I jumped off of my sofa, I think probably as high as Lucas, I tell you, mate, and my missus crapped herself. So it was, but this season, I think, like you say, what has happened in this season, we've been top of the league, we've been a cup final, we've had aspirations of winning the league, we've sacked a manager, Super League, everything.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? It is a mad season. And you can't blame COVID or the pandemic and everything. And I think when we were at the top of the league, obviously certain fans got very excited, and I think it's great to dream and believe. But you look at the teams that we played in that period, we had a lot of good teams to play after that. And I think you need to judge your team and your players at the end of the season. And that's why I said when I first came on the show, 6th or 7th, I just didn't feel that we had the quality. You look at squads, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, like say Chelsea, even the performances and the unity of West Ham, we haven't got that at the moment, and we need a real clear out. Like Eric Lamela, come on. He needs to be moved on now. Seasons after season, I've said, look, we need to move him on. Like Bale's come back and he's still there, and I'm going, what's going on?
we will come on to players shortly, Richard. But Dave, let's get your thoughts on the whole Super League thing. Of course, Wolves weren't involved. It was this apparent big 6. Nigel writes here, protests won't get rid of ENIC. They aren't sugar. Dare I say it again, the protests are going to be taking place at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday and Sunday. What are your thoughts on the whole Super League thing, Tottenham's apology, and the protest going ahead at the weekend?
Well, the first thing that I've got to say is lots of credibility and hats off to the fans of Tottenham and all of the big 6. They saw the bigger picture straight away. They want to be part of, nothing wrong with wanting to be the best club in the world or Europe, but they understood the pyramid. And so first off, to all of the Tottenham fans and every fan, brilliant, because it was fan power, really, all united, doesn't matter what club you supported, that made them turn around, and obviously everything else came in with that. In terms of the big 6 and the Super League, well, first off, we saw the Premier League proposal a little bit before the Super League, where the so-called big 6 wanted to take over the Premier League and make all the decisions. Now, if you look back at that, was that a prelude already at that point to being able to take the Premier League with them and take over, so they had all the decision making, so this wouldn't happen? First off, and then in terms of the Super League and the statement from the owners of Tottenham, it's just crap. I'm not being. It's a PR exercise. They have to apologise. These are supposedly intelligent business people that, you know, play with millions of pounds worth of money, that make decisions, analytical decisions all the time. How they can turn around and say, oh, we got this wrong, and not realise what's going to happen baffles me. It's because any normal, average, intelligent person is going to tell you that football is not just about money. It's about your heart. It's about the soul. It's your home. It's your spiritual home. And to rip that away, what do you think is going to happen? I just don't buy it. I think they're playing a PR exercise to it, and you know they're going to take a long while. I mean, the other thing that's happened as well, which is sad, that Tottenham and all of the clubs of they've lost that credibility, looking at the other owners across the table and going, we can't believe a word you say. You get off all of the subgroups. We do not want you representing our interest. They've lost power by what they've done. They've got less influence now because the other 14 clubs have gone, get off all the we'll take all the things, and you're just sat out of there. So the power is now with the other 14, not with the 6. And that credibility is going to take a while to come back. In terms of the fans' protest, you know, obviously go and protest. But the one thing I would say to every Tottenham fan that's watching this, don't do what Man United did and turn to trashing things, or because the second you do that, you lose credibility yourselves. So go and protest. Do it in the right way, make your point, but don't overstep the mark, because that's the point when you start to lose an argument, when you start trashing things, and I'm sure that it'll be done in the right way. So, you know, that's my thoughts on that subject, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, thanks for your input, Dave. Jace, let's come to you. Now, of course, Tottenham Hotspur are after a new manager. It seems that everyone that we're being linked to, they seem to come out and say, I'm not interested in the job. I'm not interested in the job. What are your thoughts on the new manager? When are Tottenham going to appoint a new manager? Who would you like to see manage the club? Is it going to be a current Premier League manager? Is it going to be someone we've never heard of? Is it going to be someone linked to the job? Are we going to be surprised? What do you think is going to happen here?
It's crazy. It just kind of matches my mood to Tottenham. I'm bored of the whole thing. I've reached a stage where I couldn't care less who the manager is. I mean, first of all, obviously I care who the manager will be, but I'm more keen to see the back of 20 players than I am a new manager. And I don't think it matters who the new manager is until we see the back of 20 players. But it's, you know, everyone knows I was completely against Jose Mourinho. Never wanted him, despised the man. I said at the time, I don't want him anywhere near my football club, so I'm pleased he's gone. What I will say about Mourinho is, and what I can never deny, he is an elite category A manager. I mean, there's no question that he's, and I respect his achievements within the game. And so from 18 months ago, to be able to attract somebody of that standing in the game, of which there was Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, and those three are probably at their own level in a strange way, even above Klopp at that, but the amount of trophies that they've won. To go from that to be linked with Graham Potter, with the great, and I quite enjoy watching Brighton. But I think, however, in 18 months have we gone from being able to attract Jose Mourinho to being linked with Graham Potter? That's the part I can't fathom out. I'd like Brendan Rodgers to get the job. I can't find one reason why Brendan Rodgers would leave Leicester to come to Tottenham at the moment. And I mean, if I was his agent, I'd be saying, Brendan, just delete Daniel Levy's number from your phone. Just put him on block. Don't even talk to the man. It's just let yourself finish the job with Leicester. They're in a cup final tomorrow. I imagine they'll be in the Champions League. They're a club that's progressing forward. Why on earth would he want to scrap all that he's done at Leicester to start a job that he could have had 5 or 6 years ago when Pochettino had it? It's crazy. So for me, you know, he's the one I want. And if it's not him, the rest of the names I see linked with us are so uninspiring. And that's not against Graham Potter. It could be Graham Potter. It could be Slaven Bilic. It could be Bill and Ben. I really don't care who the manager is. As I say, I want to see the back of Eric Dyer. I want to see the back of Orio, and I want to see the back of Musa Sissoko, and I want to see the back of these players far more than I want to see a manager come through the door.
It's quite depressing, though, Jason, isn't it? That fans like us, and I completely agree with you, by the way. I think if I had to choose a name, I'd like Brendan Rodgers in as well. But all of the names that keep linked to this job, you know, none of them have been exciting, are they? And, you know, it's nothing to get excited about right now.
That's the problem. I don't know. It just sums the whole season up, doesn't it? That we're scratching around trying to think who. It reminds me of the scene from the Mike Bassett films. Remember the Mike Bassett years ago when all the FA were sitting around the table and they just crossed all the names off and arrived at Mike Bassett from Norwich. And apologies for anyone that hasn't seen that movie. It's a brilliant movie. Go and watch Mike Bassett, England manager. But that's how it feels. Just crossing names off the list. And, oh, well, he doesn't want it. And, well, he said he doesn't want it. And these managers should want to come to a club like Tottenham Hotspur. They should do.
Yeah.
But you're looking around at the names linked and think, why would a top-level elite manager come to Tottenham Hotspur? I can't sell the club to him, and I'm a supporter of the club. So what chance have you got?
Yeah, I think as you look at the club, though, you look at one training facility, world class. Like I've been there, it's best in its field across the world. When you talk about American facilities for NFL, NBA, better than that, it's world class. Stadium, world class. I think what we struggle with is the real nuts and bolts in the team. Trying to when we had Jose. Now I don't know whether he was told this before, and Chris knows I didn't want Jose like yourself, Jason. But whether he was told he was given a budget or not, I don't know. But you look at all the time that he's managed before, he's had the budget that he wants and been guaranteed the players that he wants. And obviously, we going back to like some of the players that he wanted previous, like Diaz, and he wanted like Fernandez and people like that. He wasn't given that. He wasn't given the real funds that he wanted, and then we end up with Matt Doherty. So that's I just think we didn't really have a manager with the resources that he needed to move the team forwards. I always talk about adding value to whatever you have as a manager. You need to add value, but also you need to have those pieces to actually make the team better. And Jose never had it. Højbjerg, he's elevated him, and I like Højbjerg. But again, you just like that was a little bit of a toss of a coin, really, to see if it'll work. We didn't go out there and spend 40, 50, 60 million on a player that had got guaranteed Premier League experience. Winner. We need winners in the team. You look at the Bale. That's it. Harry Kane hasn't won anything. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the best strikers in the world, but he's not won anything. He needs winners around him. He needs winners. We need winners at the back. We've got losers at the back. All those players have lost everything.
But what I'd say about that, and I've heard that, but when I look at the prime Pochettino side, and even since then, Serge Aurier won how many trophies at Paris? He's won trophies.
Yeah, not Paris, though.
Toby Alderweireld was a champion in Holland. He was a champion in Spain.
Reguilón won trophies.
Reguilón's won trophies. Jan Vertonghen won trophies. Christian Eriksen won trophies. Victor Wanyama won trophies.
But there were a team, though, under Pochettino. There were a team, weren't they?
Won trophies. You know, so there was plenty of players within that group. And I remember Hugo Lloris has won trophies. So when you looked at it, you thought, hold on, this group, even the prime side, has got about 30 trophies between. Lucas Moura's got how many trophies from Paris? So Højbjerg's got trophies from his time at Bayern Munich. So there are plenty of players in that group that have won things. But when they've come together at Tottenham, I have no idea what happens. Even Jose Mourinho couldn't win a trophy there. So that sums it up.
Dave, before I come to you, Rich, who would you like to see as the next Tottenham Hotspur boss? Because, of course, we keep being linked with all of these names. Julian Nagelsmann, Erik ten Hag, Bielsa, Graham Potter, Scott Parker, Brendan Rodgers have all come out and said, no, I'm not going anywhere, or they're going to other jobs. Who would you like to see as the next boss?
I think it's not about a name, though, is it? It's about a philosophy, and then you kind of fit a name into that. Do you want a manager that's going to develop the academy players and bring those academies through? and then you pick accordingly. Do you want somebody with international experience? Do you want somebody that's an experienced coach that's going to have an understudy? That's the kind of philosophy you need to initially look at. And do you go out and pick a manager that's been really successful in a league that's not as competitive as the Premier League? Do you go for a Premier League experienced manager, such as somebody like a Brendan Rodgers? I to be honest, I've heard like names like Steven Gerrard thrown around. I've heard that, and think about what he would bring to a job. I just think it's either going to be somebody that's got a lot of experience in the Premier League, or it's going to be a left field appointment like when we got Pochettino. There was a lot of Spurs fans at that stage, after doing a little bit with Southampton and obviously bringing those players through and working really hard with the academy. I would like to see another manager like him, because I think the future, if Levy and the board are going to be around for some time, then we need to have a manager that's going to work with the academy players and bring some of these academy lads into the first team setup and play them. And that's how you're going to get also a reconnection with the fans as well, seeing these homegrown Tottenham born and bred boys in the first team, wearing the shirt with pride, and not just be people that are taking the money and not actually giving anything back. So I'm not answering your question there.
That's all right. No, we'll come round again. Dave, let's come to you now. One manager that Spurs have been linked with as well is your boss, Nuno Espirito Santo. Can you see that happening?
No, absolutely no chance of that happening. I mean, let's just look at Tottenham Hotspur as a club. It's got all the history. It's got great fan base. It's got one of the best stadiums in the world. It's got world-class training facilities. But it's got a team that all seem like, you look at Harry Kane and things, you feel like Harry's going to go at the end of the season. And I don't think any Spurs fan could ever turn around to him and say, can't blame you, mate. You've given a lot of loyal service. He wants to go and win something. Is he going to win something with Tottenham? You know, I don't know. It's a change. I think that the reason why I say Nuno won't come, why would Nuno give up what he's got at Wolves? Okay, we haven't had the best season. And he has had criticism from Wolves fans this year, which I think has been a bit harsh considering all our injuries that we've had and everything that, you know, the incredibly long season and 3-day pre-season and everything. But he's got his own team. He gets pretty much everything he wants. And if he were to leave Wolves to go to Tottenham, he's on a hiding to nothing in some ways. If it works out for him, great. But also, don't forget that George Mendes is his agent. George Mendes has recently had his guy, Mourinho, that's just been hoofed out. Is he going to put another one of these guys in there? I don't think so. I think he'd be saying keep clear. It's not the right time for Tottenham.
I don't know. It's all money, mate. It's all about money.
I don't think it is. Not with
with those super agents. With those super agents, it's all about money.
Well, I don't think we may or may not realise this, but Fosun, who own Wolves, own a third of Guestute, which is George Mendes' agency. They own 33% of his agency. And so I can't see that. Why would he take him and send him to? I don't think Nuno's quite a loyal person as well. He's all in with the project. So I can't see it, not with Nuno. And to be honest, I think it's difficult. I think the next manager coming in might be a transition manager for you that does a lot of the groundwork, and then you might get someone with a bit more pedigree coming in. I think because at the moment Tottenham's at that sort of stage. Do I really want to put myself in that position with Tottenham right now? Or do I want to wait for a year and 18 months to see where the transition and then come in at that point? I think your next appointment's going to be very key because let's face it, you've got all the infrastructure, the fan base and everything. Is the board right? Do you need a change of ownership? Do you need a change of direction? Do you need a change of the person that like Levy. I can see a lot of the fans. He's done some good things for Tottenham. You know, look at the stadium and the infrastructure. But did the fans want him to go and a new leader in that direction to take the club in a different direction? I don't know. Where are you with that?
Are you surprised though, Dave, that like Jason said earlier, you go from Jose Mourinho, serial winning manager, won everything in the land, to then being heavily linked to the likes of Scott Parker and of course Graham Potter. You know, no disrespect to these managers, but you know Tottenham should probably be aiming a little bit higher than that, shouldn't they?
Well, you say that, but then sometimes a manager can come in and they can perform. I mean, you know, with a surname like Potter, maybe be able to weave some magic and you know, and start pull some miracles out the hat. You just don't know. I mean, it is surprising because Scott Parker's, you know, top guy. He's took Fulham down. Potter plays some pretty football at times with Brighton, but he has got restricted resources. But they've been struggling down the bottom. Are they the right people to take Tottenham? They might be the right person for a transition year or two, but I don't know. I mean, someone mentioned Rafa coming in. You know, is that the sort of high-level manager? Well, do you want a name, or do you want someone to come in that's going to, you know, galvanise the club? And
that's what I said earlier. You need to be looking at what you want from the manager. Don't just go, we're going to go and get this guy. We want somebody that's going to develop the academy players, or that's going to reconnect with the fans. We're going to play a certain kind of football. We're going to attract these world-class players to the club. Potter, not for me. Parker, not for me either. I don't think so.
I think the thing is, I think we have to perhaps have a really good look at ourselves at where we are as a club and realise that when we gave the job to Mourinho, we were 12 games into a season, or 14 games into a season after the back of a Champions League final. When the new manager comes in, we're probably not even going to be a Europa League club. And so, you know, perhaps we've got to accept the supporters. We are not the club we were 2 years ago. And I mean, what is it? Lee McCreen calls it a turd polisher, doesn't he? You almost need that to come in, and you're right. It's going to be a transitional thing. We're talking about getting rid of almost 20 players over the next. Well, you're not going to do that in one summer, so you are going to be in transition. None of us were probably too excited to get Pochettino when he came in, so it probably is a Graham Potter profile manager. That's the reality is that's what you're going to have to be looking at now. Whether that is Graham Potter or not, whether you're excited by that or not, I think it's going to be very difficult for us, unless it's Brendan Rodgers, to bring in a name manager that appeals to us, excites us all, but will actually take the job on that he's looking at, thinking, what a mess I'm walking into. And that's where we are as a club. And I think we have to be honest and look at ourselves and think this is not the job that it was when Jose took it 2 years ago. It just isn't. We're not that club anymore.
Your facial expression, Jace, when Dave mentioned Rafa Benitez, I think that was going to probably tip you over the edge, isn't it? Mourinho and then Benitez.
We've gone from Mourinho football
to be fair, I've seen a lot of people mentioning Rafa in the comments. People have been saying it, so that's why I said, do you want that type of manager? I think, like I said, it's a real difficult one, isn't it? Because whoever comes in, there could be a name and it not work out, or there could be someone like Potter who does try and play football. And I've seen some people in the comments here, they want to see Tottenham play football, you know, that's entertaining and exciting to watch. And maybe that would go, it could work. You don't know, dear. It's a risk. Whichever way they go, whichever manager you appoint, it's going to be a risk either way. And that's why I think some of the managers are going, I think I might just steer clear from this at the moment, because they see that it's a transitional job at the moment.
And what do you think about the Martinez kind of link? A lot of people are talking about that as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not impressed.
I'm really not sure about it. Welsh guy 2014 writes on the screen now. Bielsa for me, lovely style of play coming at the end of the contract and intense training. Poch number 2. You know, particularly after Leeds beat us at the weekend 3-1. I know all this week, you know, a lot of Spurs fans have been saying, you know, Bielsa would be a good fit. I keep seeing reports, Richard, as you say, about Martinez, possibly taking the job after the Euros with Belgium. But as I said earlier, I'm not excited about any of these names. I don't know where Tottenham go from here. You go from Pochettino to Jose Mourinho. Where do we go from here? It is such a huge decision for the club and for the future of the club. And as Jason said earlier, when you're talking about, rebuilding this whole squad, it's huge, isn't it? This situation, this summer, is probably one of the biggest summers of Tottenham Hotspur history, in my opinion, in recent history anyway, because there is so much to do. A new manager, trying to keep players, getting new players in, getting rid of old players that, deadwood, as a lot of fans call them. But talking about new players coming in, we're now being heavily linked to Joachim Andersen, of course, on loan at Fulham from Lyon for around £20 million. Talking about Jerome Boateng, the centre-back by Munich, his contract's not being renewed at the end of the season. And RB Leipzig midfielder Marcel Sabitzer. Richard, thoughts on those three?
Oh my goodness! But why though? Why? Just like you're going 2 steps forward, and then you're gonna have to come 3 steps backwards. Start with a manager. Forget all these links. Forget that. You need the manager first. You need to, and then let the manager have his say. Talk about what he needs. We always do this, don't we, Spurs? Get like 13 midfielders all in the same position, all with the same kind of stats, and not really adding to the team. I think for me, manager, we need to really nail this first. Forget about the rest of the speculation. We don't want defenders that have taken teams down. Like I say, we need winners. We need upgrades. And I know, like you say, Jason, with obviously Dyer and some of the centre backs, Sanchez, etc. We do need to really think about where we're going with some of these guys, because if the club really values their contribution for the next couple of seasons, then I'm not sure where we're going to go, because defensively very poor, probably one of the weakest teams in the league defensively. Hugo's obviously saved us so many times. Like, how many times in the first 3 or 4 minutes has Hugo saved us? That double save the other day against Southampton, I was like, literally, I was just about to throw something at my TV screen at that point if that went in. But no, going back to your point, I think big rebuild, manager first. I think defenders, whoever we're linked with, that needs to go back burner. We need to really get this appointment first, and then get rid of players before anything comes in.
And I think, Chris, as well, the problem is when you look at next year, new manager with half a new team, certainly, it's hard for a new manager, because we will go through spells in a season of real ups and downs. We will go 5 or 6 games without a win as he tries to bring a style of football in that some of the players he can't get rid of, a bit like Pochettino's first year when he was stuck with Cabal and Capoue and Paulinho and people that weren't going to buy in, but he's still trying to play that. So we had that little period when we beat Chelsea 5-3 and got January or February that year. But even at the end of that year, I think we lost at home to Villa that year when did Benteke score or something, and Villa were they even relegated that year, Villa and things. I think.
Do you know what though, Jay? Pochettino always delivered European football. No matter whether he was rebuilding, going through this process, he always got European football. Yeah,
but I just mean, I think it's going to be hard even as supporters next year. It's a process that us supporters have to accept where we are as a club, and if we are going to rebuild next year and go through that, we have to understand that as supporters. And it's no good if you get a new man in and we've suddenly gone 5 games without a win, we're all saying, oh, this is the wrong man for the job and we're not this. We're going to just have to bite the bullet and let the bloke do his job and think, what was Pochettino's first season like, the ups and downs of that first season, and think, look, this is what we just have to accept, that this is how it's going to be. And that will be hard for a new manager as well, particularly if it's a manager that the fans weren't in favour of. So if it is a Potter, it is a Scott Parker, and we're all against that appointment already, he's coming in knowing he's unpopular and thinks, if I lose 2 or 3 games, the crowd are going to be on my back straight away. And that's really hard scenario to be in.
I've just seen a comment in one of the chats as well regarding maybe getting Glenn Glenn Hoddle involved in the team again? What anybody thoughts about maybe having a manager and then having Glenn Hoddle?
Do you know what, Richard?
Involved in that?
I was so surprised. You know, no disrespect to Ryan Mason whatsoever. I think the only reason that they appointed Ryan Mason as interim boss is because, as Jason said earlier, we thought that we were going to be in the European Super League next year, and this European spot in the Premier League didn't really matter. But I was very, very surprised they didn't bring in an experienced manager, an ex-player, a legend, someone like Glenn Hoddle, Harry Redknapp. Yeah. Very, very surprised. Jace, Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think you're right. I think had Mourinho gone a few weeks before that, I certainly think Redknapp would have come in. I think Harry would have loved to do it. But with 6 games to go, you're right. European Super League, Cup finals out the way. We've got 4 or 5 games left. Let's just give it to Mason and let him do it. I think that's how they looked at it.
Dave?
Well, I think Hoddle's obviously a Tottenham legend, and I don't really know, obviously, the internal politics of what's gone on with why they've appointed Ryan Mason. Obviously, they've just seen him as a nice, easy appointment whilst they look for the new manager. And obviously, he's going to front up and he's going to say all the right things in the press conferences and stuff like that. You know, so it's hard for me to really give a strong opinion on that, to be honest, aside from the other stuff I've talked about I think you're going to be in a transition period, which I think all of you agree, over the next period of time, because there's going to be a lot of changes in the summer. But I think it's what Richard said, and I think people in the chat said the managerial appointment needs to be sorted like soon, because you don't want to be going into the summer period with that uncertainty. You need to know who your manager's going to be, so the players have an understanding of what's happening and there's some certainty, and then that manager can come in and make the decisions that all the players can decide to leave or stay or whatever happens. If they keep it drifting on, you're just drifting along, aren't you? There needs to be some sort of decision sooner rather than later.
Well, maybe that might be due to... I'll put him in a taxi for you.
Is that a no, Dave?
What's that? Sorry.
I said you don't want to buy any of our players, do you?
Well, I'd have Harry Kane. I bet you would. There's obviously a few fantastic players you've got at Tottenham that we'd love to see at Wolves, but obviously they're definitely at this point out of reach at this point. But we've got aspirations of our own going forward. But we're not at that level yet, are we?
Chris, do you think that?
Sorry, go on, Rich.
Yeah, Chris, do you think that because of obviously Ryan coming as interim, do you think that the decision is around the Euros and a manager from one of those teams will come in?
Perhaps it is Martinez. Obviously,
Southgate.
Yeah, it could be. I just don't know. I think that it's funny when you look at the bookies of the names that the bookies keep putting out. All of the journalists keep putting out the same stories, the same links. I don't think anyone has a clue who is going to be the next Tottenham Hotspur manager. I think that Spurs are probably talking to so many people and drawing up this shortlist that Daniel Levy and the board will go through. It'll be very interesting. But as I say, it's a huge summer ahead. But it has to be the right fit. It really does. Talking about getting European football, Dave, let's come to you. This huge game on Sunday for Spurs. I'm not so sure it's such a big game for you guys because, you're 12th in the table, which is probably a disappointing season. In your eyes, played 35, won 12, drawn 9, lost 14, got 45 points. Spurs are sat in 7th right now. If we stay 7th, we would qualify for the Europa Conference League. Talk to me all about Wolves, Dave. Talk to me about the season. How have you found it?
From the Wolves' point of view, the fan base have been a bit like you guys. A lot of them have been disgruntled. There's been a few calling for Nuno to go because we did have a bad run. But I like to always try and look on the positive side of things. We're 12th in the table. We had the longest season ever, competitive season by any Premier League club, because we obviously started in the Europa League qualifiers the season before last. And then we made it to the last 5 minutes of the quarter-final, losing to the eventual winners, Sevilla. We didn't get the extra week break like the likes of City and United. So we had about a 3-day pre-season. We've got a very small squad. We were 6th in the table when Jimenez got took out by David Luiz from Arsenal. He's still out, although he does have a scan on his head on the 18th, whether he might be given the go-ahead to come back competitively. He is training with the Wolves squad and has been for a while with a headband. But obviously, it'd be an absolute joy to see him back after he's suffered. Matt Doherty went to you guys. We lost Johnny Otto with an ACL, the other wing back. We've brought in, obviously, some players, Semedo from Barcelona, who's great going forward, but not been so great defensively, playing in a new formation. Then we've lost players for, Marcel we bought from Lyon, who was a Champions League semi-finalist. He's been made of glass, been in and out all season. We've just had our player of the year, who's been brilliant, Pedro Neto. He's got injured, out now till October, and then we've just had so many injuries, and we've got such a small squad. So, and then obviously no fans, because Molineux is a great place with the fans behind. I think it's affected us. I think it's affected the likes of Sheffield United as well this year. With all of that in context, the fact that we were 12th with 5 games to go and we're safe, to me, I don't think that's that bad. The football at times hasn't been as great as we've wanted to see, but Nuno switched between a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2. He's played 4 at the back, putting defenders and players square eggs in round holes, and we've had inconsistency, but he's got the job done, and we're safe. So we haven't got anything to play for really, other than experimental, and that's what you're going to get with Wolves. I do believe the last 2 games he threw in some of the under-23s. The last match we played against Brighton, which we won, coming back from a goal behind again to win late on, we had the youngest ever Premier League team ever, apart from the Middlesbrough team in 2012. It was the youngest ever Premier League team. Norris 19. Hoover, we got from Liverpool, he's like 20. Morgan Gibbs White's about 21. Fabio Silva will be leading the line. He's only 18. And then you've got it's a very young side. So Bettina, who probably will play at the weekend, he's like 19, playing for the Portuguese under-21s. So you're going to see a different Wolves team to what you've seen before. A lot of young lads, and it'll be interesting to see whether he does go with the back 4 like he did against Brighton, which against Tottenham's attack could be risky, or whether he goes back to the back 3. Bolly's back in training, so he might come back into the team. But these young lads have done well. They've got some ability. They've given me some heart, actually, to see. You've got Otasowie as well, who plays for America. He's a young lad, not played much game time. So you're going to see a lot of young lads, I think, on the pitch for Wolves. And Nuno's experimenting. So you're going to be playing against a kind of experimental Wolves side with not a lot to play for, but I think that makes us dangerous.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's, Chris, I was going to say, that's one of the things that surprised me with Ryan Mason, is that we haven't seen Tanganga and we haven't seen Roden. And you thought Ryan would look down the younger players' route. And obviously it's somebody like Tanganga that he's known and worked with. And yet those players haven't had a look in, which is another thing I find quite strange at the moment.
And Tongi Ndombele seems to be quite out of favour as well, Jace, doesn't he?
Seems to be out of favour, and but when that picture came up of them all in training for the Leeds game, and there was about 4 running around, and there was Tongi with that look on his face, it wasn't perhaps a surprise, was it? Would you be disappointed if he left in the summer? I think he'll be a fantastic footballer somewhere, but I don't think he'll ever be a fantastic footballer at Tottenham. So it's another one, isn't it? That whole midfield, Sissoko, Winks, and Ndombele, Lo Celso. Don't care where all of them go. Don't care.
Well, Jace, this is another must-win game. We've said that a lot this season, a must-win game, and we've failed to win the games. Wolves are in good form. They've won 3 of their past 5 Premier League games. And interestingly, Spurs have lost half of their Premier League home games against Wolverhampton Wanderers. We have won 5 out of our last 6 Premier League home games, though, and all of Gareth Bale's 9 Premier League goals this season have come at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. How confident are you feeling for Sunday afternoon?
Don't care. don't care. Honestly, don't care. No, I care. No, don't get me wrong. I care, but there's not that buzz. There's not that excitement of looking. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, I definitely think we can win this, or this is going to be a tough game. It's like the game will suddenly get to what I don't even know what time it is. What is it? 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock,
2:05.
2:05. I'll get to 2 o'clock. I'll see the team and think, oh well, there's 7 or 8. I can't wait to see the back of. And Wolves 12th doesn't feel like it should be a big game, and the season's just waiting to end. And you know, I mean, the joke is about the only thing left of the season now is to finish above the lot from the bottom of the Seven Sisters roads. But if that puts us in the Conference League and lets them out of it, I'd sooner finish one below them. Let them have the Conference League and us be out of it. So it's nice to hear Jimenez is training, because he was a player I do like, Raul Jimenez. Yeah. I think he was the one I kept saying I'd have loved to have got him as the alternative to Harry, and lots of time for Raul Jimenez, but hopefully he can get himself back, and then hopefully the psychological thing of him genuinely going to challenge for a header, that's another stage entirely. But it's good that he's back in training. But it wouldn't surprise me if we lost 3-0. It wouldn't surprise me if we won 3-0. That's just the feelings I get from Tottenham at the moment. It's just impossible to know. I think Gareth Bale will turn up because it's a home game against a bottom half team. I perhaps haven't been as excited about Bale as a lot of people this year. I think Gareth, when the big games have turned up, and we signed Gareth Bale for big games. We didn't sign him for Sheffield United at home and Crystal Palace at home and Southampton at home. We wanted Gareth back to make the difference against Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, and sadly we haven't seen anything in those games that suggests he can do that. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if Gareth has a good game against Wolves, but where was he last week when we really needed it? Disappeared again.
Rich, let's come to you. Jason says that he doesn't care about the game. We have to care, though, don't we? These final 3 Premier League games, we have to have European football next season. And of course, you know, we're obviously chasing the Europa League spot. We've got Everton and Arsenal just behind us now. We've got West Ham above us. These last 3 games are hugely important, and they are all must-win, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're all winnable as well, especially ones at home. I fancy us against Wolves again at home. I just think that Gareth Bale has been a player this season where he's been a bit of a fall guy. You look at his minutes per goal. Obviously, he's on top of the league for that minutes per goal, and some of the games that I've seen him play when he's actually been involved in the transition, he's actually done okay. I just think he's at the age of his career. He's a different player now than he used to be at Spurs, and he needs to have a free role. That Eriksen kind of role behind Kane was something that I kind of had a look at, and I just think being stuck out on the wing just because he doesn't track back, I just makes us very vulnerable down that right hand side. And I think we'll do another probably Sheffield United. I think we'll win 3-0. I think on Sunday, and I think it will be just we play so much different at home than away just because of how we set up. And I think Ryan Mason just hasn't got the experience, and also is not the man manager to provide some of the weaker players mentally as well as physically with a steel that we need away from home. But at home, I think it's more comfortable for him and his backroom staff to deliver the messages, and the messages seem to get through at home as well. And yes, I understand that the last home game was against Sheffield United, but that could have been 7 or 8-0 really. We battered them, and they should have had a player sent off for a crazy tackle or a crazy stamp on Lo Celso. So. And you've got to play the team that's in front of you. I think, like Dave says, I think Wolves are going to be playing some transitional players. I think in their team because of playing for maybe some slots next year. And I'm not sure Ryan will throw in any of the development players in, which I'd really like to see. I'd like to see some of the younger lads get a run out, but like Jason, I think he's looking to make sure that we finish above the Arsenal. Just so I can watch Arsenal fan TV at the end of the season.
I can give you some positives though, guys. I mean, you have won 5 out of your last 6. Tottenham have won their last 19 games. Won 15 and drawn 4 of their last 19 games against teams starting in the bottom half of the table. Since you got beat 1-0 by Newcastle in 2019. However, if Nuno was to be victorious in this game, it would be the first ever Premier League manager to win his first 3 away games against Tottenham.
We hate stats like that, Dave.
That's strange because that stat we lost at Brighton, and they were in the bottom half, surely.
At Brighton,
yeah.
Not.
You mean at
Spurs,
home, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I beg your pardon. Okay, yeah. We lost at home to Newcastle, didn't? Oh no, that was last year. There you go. You see.
2019 or whatever it was, 1-0.
Yeah. Okay.
Dave, have you got a predicted lineup for us?
Well, I've got my match preview. If any of you guys want to watch that afterwards on my channel, and I've done my predicted lineup, but I'm not so sure how it's going to line up. But what I've gone with, I've gone obviously Patricio in goal. Cody, I'm saying he's going to go with a back 3, although it might be a back 4, but I'm going to say he's going to go with back 3 because obviously Tottenham are very dangerous going forward. They've got lots of attackers, and I feel we could be a bit exposed with a back 4. So Cody, Kilman, another young lad. He did play for England in football or whatever it was, but he's only young as well himself. Coming in an English player with Ukrainian parents as well, so he can play for England or Ukraine at the left-hand side. And then it might be Saiss coming back in to the side, or probably Willy Bolly if he does play with the back 3. The middle 3, I'm going to say, is going to be Neves, Moutinho, and Bettina. But you could swap them around for Gibbs White or Otasowie. Left wing back and right wing back is going to be Ait-Nouri, another 19-year-old, and Semedo. And then up front, I think he might go with the front 2 of Adama Traore might start this game. For his speed, I think he has been playing as well on the side, but through the middle, and I think he can be quite dangerous in that position. And then 18-year-old Fabio Silva leading the line. Wolves paid £35 million for him in the summer. Supposed to be the next big thing. He got thrown in early because of Jimenez, got a lot of stick, but he still scored 4 goals and had 2 assists. And if he scores 2 more goals, he'll be Wolves' top scorer. And if he scores, I think, 3 more goals before the age of 20, he will equal Ronaldo for scoring goals in the Premier League. So he's only 18, but I think he'll lead the line. I don't think it'll be William Jose. We've got him on loan. He scored 1 goal in 13. I think he'll be saying to him at the end of the season.
Well, thanks for those stats, Dave. Ryan Mason said earlier in the press conference, all of the 21 outfield players have competed in training, and it's made it difficult to pick a team and a squad. Ben Davies is the only player that remains out for Tottenham. Jason and Richard, I'm going to give you my predicted lineup. Feel free to come in with yours or any changes. I'm going to go with Hugo Lloris in goal, Serge Aurier at right back, Sergio Reguilon at left back, Toby Alderweireld and Eric Dyer in the centre, Giovanni Lo Celso, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Dele Alli, and then Gareth Bale, Heung-min Son and Harry Kane. Jace, let's come to you first. Your thoughts on that predicted lineup? Do you think that Ryan Mason will make any changes to that?
I think you could well be right. Lo Celso, there's the first substitute already. Then write that down. 67 minutes substitution. Lo Celso off because that happens all the time. And eight completed 90 minutes in 74 Premier League games since arrived. That tells me everything. And I see little clips of Gio. I think there's a player in there. Don't get me wrong. But we just don't see it. We see it for tiny little snippets within a game. We see a little spell where it looks good on a highlight reel on Match of the Day, but we don't see a 90-minute performance. We don't see a 90 minutes from Tongi. We don't see 90 minutes from Wink. So, I mean, he may well go with Lo Celso. I might go with Ndombele, but the problem is none of those 4 midfield options, let's be honest, we don't want any of those four to play, do we?
No,
if we're perfectly honest, we don't want Winks, we don't want Sissoko, we're not keen on Lascelles. So most of us think Ndombele's the best one of the four, but it's even then it's little snippets. It's not a genuine 90-minute performance, and that's, the problem.
The fitness level seems to be very different now, doesn't it? You know, to being under Mauricio Pochettino to now, you know, 2 years on, the fitness level just seems to be so different. Because I remember, you know, back in the day under Poch, you know, 95th minute, we're still running around, we're still sprinting. And now it just looks like we're walking and we're very lethargic, very slow. You know, it's really changed, hasn't it, in this 2 year period?
It has, and that's what has to change over the summer. We've got to get ourselves much better at that again. You know, the pressing game has gone, hasn't it? We press intermittently in little spells in a game, but we don't really go full on with a press. We're very passive to watch. We're not playing at a high tempo. We're slow with the ball. We don't recover the ball quick enough. And they're all the things. In fairness to Ryan Mason, he wasn't going to change that in the space of a couple of weeks. And I think we all know what Tottenham's side we want to see on the eye next year. It's not just about playing attacking football. It's about being aggressive with the ball, going into games with real intent, laying down your marker. You know, if you're going to play counter-attack football, do it with speed, do it with decisiveness and things, not these games that are just drifting us by aimlessly. So there's a lot of things to change, and that's one of the things. We've just got to get ourselves fitter again.
Rich, your thoughts on that lineup?
Yeah, I'd like to see Roden instead of Dyer. I think, he just looks better, more confident. I think Eric's lost his confidence. Some terrible decision making, especially the ball coming across the box. Jeez, like, shall I jump for it? Shall I leave it for somebody else? Or we've just conceded. How many times that's happened? Midfield wise, I'd love to see Dele get another chance. I think these last couple of games we need to be making decisions on some of those players that maybe could be moved on for a little bit of money. And I just think Dele needs minutes. But I think you're probably right, Chris, with your lineup, probably minus Eric. I think Roden will come in that position. And I also think, like I said, I think we'll do actually quite well at home. I'm quite confident we'll play on the front foot. I think Ryan will have a good word to the players to say, look, this is some of your guys' last chance in this team. Go play for the shirt. If not, you're not playing in the last two games.
Dave, let's come to you. Before I get your score predictions, all three of you. Dave, I just want your opinion on players like Heung-min Son and Harry Kane possibly leaving Tottenham Hotspur Football Club in the summer. You know, widely reported, constantly reported by journalists stating that Harry Kane may leave in the summer. Of course, not won any trophies during his time at Spurs. You know, from an outsider looking in, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, do you realistically see them leaving Spurs in the summer?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I'm just going to come back to Doherty with Wolves. He was with Wolves for 10 years and he needed a new challenge. He had the option to go to Tottenham. We wished him well. You know, Tottenham are a great club. He'd done a lot of service for Wolves, and, you know, he wanted to test himself at Tottenham. I know it's not worked out for him, but could you blame Harry Kane after all the years of service that he's given to Tottenham? And he genuinely does love Tottenham. There's no word about it. But if he had the opportunity to go to a club where he could win trophies and become really competing with the chance to win that Champions League, he had that chance with Tottenham. Obviously, didn't work out. I don't know any Spurs fan that, although they wouldn't want him to go, wouldn't say, you know what, fair enough, you're giving your best, we want you to do, you know, why would he stay right now? Unless now would be the time, wouldn't it, for him to move? I think what would hurt Tottenham fans if he moved to another club in the Premier League, but if you say move to La Liga or somewhere like that, like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or whatever it is, or a Dortmund or a Bayern Munich, and he moved out to the Premier League, I think that would be a lot easier to take. If he moved to, say, someone like United, you know, or Liverpool, or, you know, Chelsea, for example, then that would it wouldn't happen. I don't think he'd do that, but that would hurt a lot more. But if he moved abroad, and as for Song, if Kane goes, you could see Song going as well, couldn't you?
I think if I give you a little bit of an insight as a professional athlete and from the other side of the fence, I think there's definitely lots of reasons for Harry staying at Spurs. Obviously, the Jimmy Greaves record, pushing towards Alan Shearer's obviously all-time Premiership goals record. I know it's a bit of a way off, but obviously, depending on an investment and kind of some reinforcements, maybe that could happen still at Spurs. I also think the trophy situation. I think he would want to win those trophies at Spurs, and that's why maybe he's not moved on in previous seasons. And you can see that he's passionate about it. And I think sometimes with players' mannerisms, you don't kind of really get their passion. And I know from obviously people that I know within the club that he is passionate about the club and the core values. Also about wanting to be a legend at the club. I don't think he's going to move on. I don't think Son is either. I think it sometimes this negativity is easy to see from the outside, but I think it's a totally different story internally. And there will be players that will definitely be moved on. I think some of the bigger players are the assets of the team and will stay and flourish underneath the next manager. I won't say I'm 100% confident in that, but I'm just saying as a professional athlete now, I know it's not all black and white with these situations. And talking to a guest of yours recently, Tom Huddleston, he's kind of on the cusp about whether Harry will leave or stay, but I think there's a lot still at Spurs for him to achieve. And how would that be to be able to lead Spurs into a final and actually win one? And we had a chance obviously against Man City, but that was never going to happen. I seriously didn't want that to happen.
But don't you think he's been there? Champions League final. The final the other day, he's been there.
Yeah, the Champions League final was slightly different. He was injured. He shouldn't have ever played.
Do you think that it's going to happen anytime in the next 2 or 3 years? And I think even if he does leave Spurs, I think he'd still be a legend because he is. But I'm not sure. I mean, I hope he does stay for you guys because when you think of Harry Kane, you think of Tottenham, and I hope he does stay. But I don't think you could blame him if he did take this opportunity to move. I think it's who he moved to would be the real hurt.
I think that's the key. It's who you move to, because number one, when people say he needs to move to leave trophies, he's played in 3 finals for Tottenham.
Yeah.
So he's had opportunities to, and for whatever reason, and this, don't get me wrong, I'm not having a real go at Harry, but for those 3 finals, we've barely seen him touch the ball. So he has had an opportunity to leave a mark on a final. I think 2 of those finals, he's not even had a shot at goal. So that's the first thing. He had to do more in those finals for us. But I'm not blaming those defeats on him.
I think 2 of those finals he'd come back from an injury as well. If you look at...
But that's part of it, Richard, isn't it? He's got to be honest with himself and say, I can't play if I'm not fit. I can't play if I'm not fit. And maybe had he not played, we might have had a chance to come off the bench and he might have won one. So some of that is to do with Harry. The other thing is his comment that he wants to leave, I think he said to win the biggest trophies. The biggest ones. He didn't mean the Carling Cup. He meant the Premier League and the Champions League. If he moves to Manchester United, do you see them winning the Premier League next year? Do you see them winning the Champions League next year? I don't. So he could well make the move to Manchester United to win the big trophies. And a year's time, he's looking at it thinking, well, I didn't win the biggest trophies anyway, did I? So I think if we all think the biggest trophies means he's probably got to go to Manchester City and Manchester City alone. Otherwise, any other move is not going to deliver those biggest trophies. And so you've got to be careful with that. And I don't see Manchester City coming up with an offer of 120, 130 million for Harry Kane when they'll pay that for Haaland, who's 24 or 23 years old or whatever and has everything in front of him. So I think there'll be a combination of reasons why Harry stays at Tottenham. And I don't think Harry will push for the move. I think secretly he'd quite like it, but I don't think he's going to kick up a fuss and push for the move and that may well be the final thing that keeps him at Spurs. But I certainly hope, for me, he's head and shoulders the best Premier League player this year. More goals or joint top goal scorer, more assists than anyone, more defensive headers than anyone. I mean, he's been our best defender, he's been our creative midfielder, and he's been our best goal scorer. And I think, if he could have concentrated on any one of those jobs, if he'd have just been our striker this year, he'd have had 40 goals for us instead of having to drop to midfield and create and things. So head and shoulders the best player in the Premier League for me this season.
What about Heung-min Son, Jace? Do you see him staying as well?
It's a strange one because Sonny's never really linked with clubs away, is it? We've never had a summer where he's on the cusp of joining Barcelona or on the cusp of going to Paris or anything. I think there's a lot of reasons why Sonny could make the move because of his nationality and the Asian market. There's an obvious link for clubs to do that. But I see Sonny, people saying, will he come and will he go? But I don't see a single club linked with Sonny yet. So I think Sonny will be there next year. But again, I think Sonny, if there was a genuine approach for Sonny, he may well behind the scenes say, look, I'd quite like the opportunity to go, but I don't see Sonny pushing for it in the same way I don't see Kane pushing. Well, Gareth Bale to Madrid, he pushed for that move, didn't he? He actually pushed for it, stopped training, things like that. He really pushed for it. I don't see Kane or Son doing that, and maybe that's why they end up staying.
Jace, let's stick with you. I've got 3 final questions for all 3 of you, and thanks so much for joining me tonight, all 3 of you. Score prediction for Sunday, Tottenham Hotspur against Wolves. Where will Tottenham finish in the Premier League at the end of the season? And who will be the next Tottenham Hotspur manager, or who will be the Spurs manager at the start of next season? I'll go first, actually. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, 2-1 Tottenham win on Sunday. I think that we will finish 6th and qualify for the Europa League. And I think that Brendan Rodgers will be our manager. Jace?
I'll go 2-0. I'll go Tottenham to finish 8th. And I'll go Graham Potter as Tottenham's manager.
Oh, my goodness. No way. No way. No way, man.
I really do hope you're wrong.
Well, I hope we're 6th. I don't want to finish 7th. I don't want to finish 7th.
Richard, give me some sort of positivity. Come on. After that, after Jason, Graham Potter and 8th.
Yeah, so 6th. I think score-wise, I've already kind of said it. I know some people in the chat think I'm optimistic, but I think we won't concede at home, and it'll be 3-0. And manager-wise, Martinez, maybe somebody like that. I don't think the board will put the resources that we've actually got already in the hands of somebody that is inexperienced. I think you look at Martinez. Obviously, he won FA Cup, obviously with Wigan. Took Belgium to the semi-final. And I believe that might be an appointment that it was better for the connection with the players and the manager. I think I know it might not excite you, Chris, but I think it's probably the best that we're going to get.
Actually, can I change my manager?
Go on.
I'll go Southgate.
Oh my God!
I don't want him. I don't want him, but I have this weird feeling we'll end up with Southgate, and that's why there's no real link because Daniel Levy, England won't want the distraction of all that over the summer. So I think Daniel will be quiet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's Gareth Southgate in the least, and that will be really disappointing for all of us.
Do you know, I've got to reply to Roy's comment here. Much prefer Chris about the positivity. I always try and be positive.
Where's the trophy that's coming?
Exactly. Where are the trophies? Start the season, the trophies are coming. But what up and down season it's been. When I'm struggling for positivity, then I know things are really wrong. I really do. Dave, let's finish with you. Same questions. Score prediction. Do you think that Wolves will win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again? Where will Tottenham finish in the league? And who do you think will be the next Tottenham Hotspur manager?
Okay, well, I think the score could be anything. You could batter us because we've got quite a few young lads out, or it could go the other way. Obviously, I'm positive. We've won the last twice. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Wolves, although we'll probably concede first because we never score first and we don't ever score till the second half. You know, we always seem to concede, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 to Wolves because I'm a Wolves fan and I've got to be optimistic. But it wouldn't surprise me if we did get a beating, but we'll wait and see. I think Tottenham will qualify for the Conference League in 7th place. And I think your next manager will be Mike Bassett.
Mike Bassett.
Mike Bassett.
I've got me called.
Brilliant. Dave, tell everyone where they can find your channel and what's it all about.
Yeah, so my channel's it is what it says on the tin on my thing. Wolves fan Dazzling Dave TV. I do a bit like you, Chris, mainly daily content. I will be doing a watch along, which has been very popular of the Tottenham game. And everyone's welcome. I've done a preview as well. And can I just say, Chris, it's always an absolute pleasure to come on your channel. I will let you know that Chris is coming on to my show for a few minutes on 8:30 after the match on Sunday evening. It's called Extra Time, hosted by me and my co-host Amy. So look out for that. And you know, I do want to honestly. I know how it's been difficult, and I do want to wish you guys. You have got a great set of fans. I do want to wish you all the best for the rest of the season. But again, thanks for inviting me on tonight, and pleasure to talk with Jason and Richard too.
Dave, it's very nice of you to say that. But can I just say to Dave, I hope you get stuffed on Sunday, mate.
I wouldn't expect anything else, mate. But I'd be disappointed if you didn't say that.
Dave, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate your input. Jason, thank you so much indeed.
Cheers, mate. Good to catch up again.
And you, yeah. And Richard, thank you very much indeed.
Anytime, and catch you soon. Everybody stay safe.
Let's hope that Tottenham can get this Europa League place, Champions League. You know, it is possible, mathematically possible, but very unlikely. Let's hope that Tottenham can get European football next season, and let's hope that we can attract a fantastic manager for next season. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and come on you Spurs.